You are listening to the Freeform Rock Podcast with Mark Alden Taylor.
Welcome to another edition of the Freeform Rock Podcast, and we have Freeform. Well, that was Chris Elio. So, hi, Chris, and Lee's there somewhere. What's up, Lee?
I'm HR puppet stuff.
HR puppet stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I'm doing okay. Puffy but cool.
You're puffy but cool. So what's going on with you guys this week? Anything cool going on?
Oh,
just in life?
Yeah.
Life is good, man. We're honestly, I live in the weirdest place in America. Honestly, the weather here cannot be actually weirder. In the past week and a half, and I know you're in LA, Mark, so that's interesting in its own right. So you probably have something to say on this subject, but here in Pennsylvania, we've had everything from 60-degree weather to 4 to 6 inches of snow. Today, we have like wind out there, like it's the Midwest. Like I can't even, like it's like 60 mile per hour gusts. It's ridiculous. Like it's the weirdest thing I've ever encountered, and every year it seems to get weirder. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
I'm in New York, and my sister has a summer place, but she seems to occupy it in the winter, but it's in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
In Howley.
We have people here and snow's dropping and they're going, what the hell is that? What's this white stuff?
Yeah. No, I lived in Northern California for 10 years and I didn't even see rain for the majority of that 10 years, let alone snow. And they were talking about snow was coming down the mountains and this, that, and the other. And my friends in Vegas got snow. It was crazy. Yeah, it's been nuts. So that's the big thing that's been going on around here besides the crazy music stuff that's been awesome, like all the new releases that came out on Friday. Like, I'm overwhelmed with the amount of new releases that came out on Friday that I haven't even gotten through half of what I wanted to listen to yet. So it's been amazing.
And one of those new releases we're doing next week.
I have like a fear that all these new releases are going to chase me down the street and try and threaten me to hear them, and I have to run away screaming.
I know, right? Right. I need a PFA against some of them. It's crazy.
Yeah, I just put in a new album by Dream Theater today in the car and listened to most of it. It's freaking.
Oh, it's so good.
Well, let's hold that for next week.
Well, it's really good though. Yeah. It's really good. And then one of my picks this week was another new release that came out on Friday as well. So. We'll get into that when the time comes. So.
All right. So today we're going to do maybe Rush's final album, Clockwork Angels. Well, definitely. I'm kind of hoping that Neil Peart might not want to tour, but he can make an album. He might get that itch.
so I mean, if we're gonna launch right into that, I can say that Geddy Lee's been making the rounds lately because he's been. Promoting his book. He's got a book of basses, that he's been collecting over the years, and he's been asked this question at every single interview regarding the future of Rush. Is there a thing with Rush? There was actually a quasi rumor that turned out to be this stupid clickbaity thing where somebody suggested Mike Portnoy might play with Lee and Lifeson and this, that, and the other, and essentially what came of that was some overzealous reporter just asked Portnoy if he would ever take that gig if it was hypothetically offered to him, and of course Portnoy was like, well, why wouldn't I? Like, that's stupid. But he would have to get the blessing of Neil Peart. However, what I'm getting at here is that Geddy sees Neil Peart on a regular basis. They talk all the time, and he said Neil's not even playing drums, let alone not only is he retired from Rush, but he's retired from drums. Like,
he sold all his drums.
Like, he just doesn't play. He just doesn't play at all.
Yeah, there's no drums in the house, no drums anywhere. But remember when they were gone for a while, Neil, when he lost his family, he stopped playing music. But musicians will get the itch. He might not want to go do concerts anymore, but he might want to create music. So that's my hope. I'd rather just have studio albums. Just keep going. Well,
to be honest, that was like almost 25 years ago.
Yeah, true.
That's a long time. Because believe me, I'm not arguing with you because I don't want to be right. Believe me, because especially if Clockwork Angels is any indication of what they were able to do in the twilight of their career, I want to hear more. Like, there's just no way around that. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I can hold out hope, but that Time Stand Still DVD was definitely a love letter of goodbye
to
the fans, without a doubt.
For me, man. I was crying.
Absolutely.
Especially when Neil came on stage with them when he's never done before. He said, always, the back is mine, the front is yours, and he came up and surprised him and freaking did a bow. And I go, whoa. Damn.
I got a story about that show, too. I have deep regret about... I had a chance to go to that show, and I actually, because I lived in San Francisco and that show was in LA, and I had a bunch of friends in LA, and I had a media contact with Rush. I never had a chance to interview them, but I met them, and the guy said, "Look, I have one ticket to the Staples show, if it's the last show of the tour." And I contemplated it, and I was like, well, it's going to cost me this amount to get down there. And I had just started my own business, and I was just, you know what, they'll be back. They'll be back. There's no way that they're not going to do a farewell tour like every other hack band. And I should have known better, because they're not a hack band like every other hack band. So, yeah, so I missed out on going to that show, and I regret it. It's one of the few times in my life that I actually have a regret, and that's definitely it, not going to that show.
One of the few bands with musical integrity, it's like
the ultimate musical integrity. Honestly, like there's none higher, in my opinion. They've done it right every step of their career. So,
yeah. So we talked about this album a little bit, but before we get into this album in depth, we have our newer artist spotlight, and let's see. You picked "Wheel the Pieces" Lie, and I picked Nita Strauss. Mariana Trench. She's a freaking great guitar player, man. I just ordered that CD after I heard that. And Sam Fender by Lee with a song called Spice. So here's our newer artist spotlight. Enjoy.
Destination in mind. kid leaves school, gets up, hates it, fakes it too long, sees no way out. Can't talk to girls, no sex for years, loses his will to live, but he found something better. Spice up your life, would want anything else. These moments of a baby and all I need. Spice up your life, who would want anything else? These moments of a baby and all I need. Sells his stuff for nothing. The fund is newfound salvation. Sexual frustration is a thing of the past. Spice up your life, who would want anything else? These moments of a baby and all I need. Spice up your life, who would want anything else? These moments of a baby and all I need. Smashes up his mate's house, goes home, fucks up his dad, beats him so bad, arrested, thrown out, homeless, so sad. His brother will find him and give him a hiding. Spice up your life, who would want anything else? These moments of a baby and all I need. Spice up your life, who would want anything else? These moments of a baby and all I need. Using, he's off it, but he's not the same kid. I seen him last Sunday, his head's fucking gone, man.
That was our newer artist spotlight with with Wheel the Pieces, Lie, Nita Strauss, Mariana Trench, and Sam Fender, Spice. So let's get into this. What could be, probably is, the final Rush release ever.
Well, yeah, this was written to a particular idea. Whereas on past albums, you know, he's got sort of a collection of bits and bobs he's been thinking about. Excuse me. Things he's been thinking about over the, you know, past year or 2 years, whatever it is between albums. This time there was a concept and a story that he wanted to tell. So everything is written to tell that story. So it is starting fresh and writing from that particular point of view.
I suppose it's another aspect of if you do change the lyrics, it's got to still remain within the set story.
Yeah, and some of the difficulty I had was he's looking at it as a story. He's looking at it almost as a book, as a piece of prose. And what works in a paragraph or in a book or in a chapter does not necessarily make for a good song. So for me, the song comes first, obviously. The melody comes first. I'm the singer. I have to shape a melody that is, you know, good or beautiful and works in the context of the music and doesn't feel weighed down by a story that someone's trying to tell. So that's a fine balance, and there's a lot of back and forth necessary to get that just right, because you don't want it to be, you know, so literal all the time. It needs to have some flight of fancy to allow the listener to put attach their own world to it, their own image of it. That's what music is. Music is a personal thing. I don't want to have every song explained away to me in such great detail that it takes away my ability to imagine what that world that they're singing about is like. That's a beautiful connection between the listener and the piece of music. So that's the hard part. And I think the fact that Neil knew that he has another outlet for this story, which is a book that's being written about this story, I think it took a lot of pressure off of him having to have all those details on the musical version of it, knowing that he has a detailed version yet to come.
Which just makes me want to die, like we were talking about. It's just like...
I could try to find their studio and then sneak in and find tapes of songs that they haven't used and just re-release them and call myself Mr. Periwinkle so
they're
don't know
doing
who
all
I
these
am.
remasters right now, so they're probably going to find something. But they won't release something that's not perfect. They're not like willy-nilly, let's just throw out these fucking demos because you give the fans a bone. No, they don't do that shit.
I would do that. I would release some if someone offered it to me. All I did was spit in the microphone. They wouldn't use $10,000. Here you go, buddy.
All right.
Well, here's the thing with the remasters that I find most interesting so far. There's a trend that they're following. They're releasing some random live stuff, which from their early career, there's not a lot out there. Especially a lot of like truly live stuff. You know that like the 70s live albums and stuff, they're all pretty doctored.
Yeah.
All the bands did that. So it seems that Rush is putting out a little bit more truer sounding live stuff from the 70s and the 80s, which is great. And they're usually attached to the remasters. And then on top of that, the more interesting things is that each remaster at this point has had some measure of a cover version of some of the songs. And that's incredibly unusual because throughout their career, they have abhorred when people covered their stuff. They really, really never gave their blessing for such a thing. So now all of a sudden, like, there's a great version of the song Tears on 2112 by Alice in Chains. And I believe Anthrax did a version of Anthem on the Fly By Night remaster. So there's some really great covers out there that are being kind of endorsed by Rush, which is really cool. So
well, that's cool.
Yeah. And I'm just like, fuck, this is my favorite band of all time, and I don't want them to end. I don't want them to end.
Yeah,
it's just
me too. And as we go through this, you'll see they said goodbye. Like there's a very poignant and obvious goodbye on this album, and I think they knew it long before that tour. Even though if you watch that DVD and that documentary, the decision was made during that tour, kind of. But I get the sense that it was more obvious than they're letting on. So, but
all right,
yeah.
So this is in the book with Martin Popoff. It says, so we arrive at Rush's 12th studio record, and grand statement it was. The first concept album by the band in many layman images made concept albums of all the time. Deftly, Rush created a concept album that was both extremely complex of plot and yet coexistent about these things as lifelong prog fans, making sure to deliver songs that stood alone as compositions, and most of them quite rocking. No particularly short or long songs, instrumental interludes, reprises, and narrative bits. So, yeah, this is a concept album. They went out with a concept album, you know.
There's a book.
Oh, wow.
There's a book that goes with it.
Yeah.
I
haven't read it yet.
It makes me think that the title Clockwork Angels is so like the way of saying, hey, we're the angels, we're the top of the heap, but we're on the clock, and when this is over, we're done.
Well, the story from I didn't get to read the entire book, but the Clockwork Angels are the basic premise of the story is that there's a guy called the Timekeeper or the Watchmaker or something to that
Watchmaker.
effect. Yeah, and he the Clockwork Angels are the ones that kind of oversee the people. And they pose as nice figures, but sometimes they're not so nice figures. So
it's like
it's more of an adventure than it is there's no like violent imagery or anything like that. It's kind of an adventure type of thing.
It's like I have the live Blu-ray from this tour, and they have like little bits where they're playing characters. It's freaking quite hilarious.
Yeah, and that live show, the Clockwork Angels tour, was like hands down my favorite Rush. Like I've seen Rush 22 times, and it was my favorite Rush show ever. Was the Clockwork Angels tour? It was my favorite set. The orchestra, the mini like orchestra thing that they did. They focused a lot on the 80s era in terms of their set list, and I love that.
And they played freaking Grace Under Pressure. That's like, yes.
No, they played a lot of Power Windows. They played Grand Designs, and they played Territories, and I mean, it was awesome. They played Mystic Rhythms again for the first time in a while. Like, so it was a great set. Love that set. It was one of my favorites.
That's Lee's favorite era right there.
Actually, yeah. Yeah.
I like it. A lot of fans go, fuck Rush. They go, fuck Rush and the synthesizers. Fuck this shit.
Yeah.
I want fucking 2112. Well, you know what? Fucking move on then. We like it.
Yeah, I mean, without making this into a complete Rush documentary, I mean, Rush is the only band that I think, not the only, but one of the few that successfully transcended each decade that they were in and became relevant within the decade that they were in without changing their sound. Like, you can identify Rush in any of their eras, like, without even question. There's no like, is that Rush? Really? That's Rush? But yet their sound was so distinctly different, from 2112 to Power Windows to Counterparts to Snakes and Arrows and then to Clockwork Angels. Like, it's just, Clockwork Angels was kind of the culmination of all of it. And, that kind of brings us back to where we are.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the first track on this album, Caravan, which Lee picked. So here's Caravan by Rush on the Freeform Rock Podcast. That was Caravan. Why'd you pick that song, Lee?
Well, this sort of sounds like an updated version of something they could have done after Signals. I think Grace Under Pressure is a great album, but I could imagine this having been done instead of Distant Early Warning. Distant Early Warning is great. I'm just saying this song brings me back to that time, and I feel it could have been perfect for those years. Great song. Could you imagine Distant Early Warning with that production? With that sound,
yeah.
That song would be heavy as shit. Like I can't even fathom how heavy that song would be if Geddy wasn't playing a Rickenbacker and was playing that Fender fucking Thunder bass that he plays now. It would have been incredible sounding. This song Caravan, I remember. I don't know if you two remember, or like I don't know how big a fan of Rush you are, Lee, that you followed their career a lot, but. You know, I know Mark had said it's their favorite band. So I don't know if you remember, but this song and BU2B came out first, like almost a year and a half before the album came out.
Yep.
They were released separately for the Time Machine tour, and they were playing those songs on the Time Machine tour. And Caravan is like, what a statement to Rush, and like they took criticism for the longest time for being like these prog rock gods and then not being prog. You know, they did these short form songs for a long time. They didn't do big musical breakdowns for a while. Everything was just song form. Then they come out the first song on this album, Caravan, and it's like this 7-minute, like, it's got this middle section of just incredible drumming and bass. It was very reminiscent. It's reminiscent more not in sound but in form of like Free Will, where the song completely breaks down and takes a left turn and becomes a different thing. And then, you know, and they show their music prowess in this song. And then on top of that, it's heavy as fuck. Like, this song is so heavy, and Geddy's voice sounds so strong on this album. It's a theme that you're going to hear throughout the entire album from me, is that the heaviness and Geddy's voice on this album. Caravan's an incredible kickoff.
Yeah.
I'm not completely as much of a fan of their whole career. In fact, there's some certain albums in certain periods I just don't listen to, but I do like them, and occasionally I will decide to listen to a Rush album.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
that works.
This song, this is what I think. It starts off with a fucking bang. That rhythm and bass, like you said, Geddy's voice sounds so good. Neil kicks ass, and a great solo on the break. And the freaking this song is just fucking awesome. It's
and
like,
the thing about, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you just get into his bass going. Boom, 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 boom. His bass is so strong on this whole album. It's like he's up front with Alex.
I could crawl in his bass and then go. Sorry.
Well, the thing about this song that's amazing, and like, you know, again, very few bands can pull off this type of thing. But the thing about this song that's amazing is that it's called Caravan, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like a thundering caravan. That's exactly what it sounds like, and it's remarkable. Like, it's completely remarkable that there's nothing more I can say about it.
Yeah, it's a great track, and then we get into the next track, which. You picked, Chris, BU2B. So here's BU2B on the Freeform Rock Podcast.
I was running to what we're told. Blind man in the market, buying what we're sold. Believing what we're told until our final breath. While I love and watchmaker loves us all to death. In a world of cut and thrust, I was always taught to trust. In a world where all must fail, heaven's justice will prevail. The joy and pain that we receive each comes with its own cost. The price of what we're winning is the same as what we've lost. All is for the best, believe in what we're told. Blind man in the market, buying what we're sold. Believe in what we're told until our final breath. While our loving watchmaker loves us all to death. Until our final breath, the joy and pain that we receive must be what we deserve. I was brought up to believe. Until our final breath, the joy and pain that we receive must be what we deserve. I was brought up to believe. All is for the best, believe in what we're told. Blind man in the market, buying what we're sold. Believe in what we're told until our final breath. While our loving watchmaker loves us all to believe in what we're told until our final breath. While our loving watchmaker loves us all to death.
That was "Bu to Be." Why'd you pick this track, Chris?
Oh, it's the heaviest song in the history of Rush. This is the just a full-on bombast of a song. I envision the stage show every time I hear it, with puffs of smoke coming out of the stage, and it's just that riff, that it's just such an amazing riff. And it's surprising that this late in their career, they can run with the big boys when it comes to being heavy. Like, this is a heavy song. Like, this is like, over the years I heard them credited with being like the godfathers of prog metal. And this is a prog metal song. If there's ever been one, this was a fantastic, just metal song. It couples along beautifully right after Caravan. Like, Caravan was this like flowy type of heavy song, and then this one is just stop and start and just a punch in the face, like a complete punch in the face.
Yeah,
and lyrically, it's awesome too.
Yeah, it's
lyrically, it's great.
It's like Mike Portnoy's probably creaming in his pants when he heard Neil's drums on this album.
Oh, it was great. There was a lot of them. A lot of great drumming on this album. Like, Neil really put his heart and soul into this one.
Yeah, you could tell he knows this is it. It's like, damn.
Again, throughout the course of this album, there are certain poignant moments, both lyrically and musically, that I can say, yeah, this certainly looks like it's the end. I kind of had a feeling. I didn't want to believe it, and then again, the last tour, that was it, and I was like, oh man. But
what'd you think about it, Lee?
Well, this sounds like they were trying to be influenced by grunge, but much better than what the grunge bands could have done with it. It has a heavy sound I really like, and it sounds like they purposefully wanted it to sound a little not like their signature sound, even though it still has their sound. Another really good song.
Yeah, and I put, like, starts off with a slight acoustic and ghostly sounding vocals. Then the drums come in pounding. Wow, Neil is on fire. His drums are so good on this, sound so huge on this album. And Geddy's bass is all over this, with Alex's atmospheric guitars in the background. Neil's lyrics, oh my god, they're so good. Fucking great track. This album starts off with a 1-2 punch, and then we get into track 3, the title track off the album, Clockwork Angels. What'd you think about this one, Chris?
This is the first time where I feel like you're kind of where the album kind of slows down, and not in a bad way. I'm talking about just musically. It gets more into this is the first song where not that I want to say that the first song where Alex shines in terms of his solo playing, because the solo on Caravan is insane. So he definitely shines there. But in terms of his signature, like, chords, that he's got such a weird style of chord playing, and the way that he structures his thing, the way he plays things. This is kind of one of the first times during the chorus and during the right after the choruses, the stuff that he plays. It's the rhythmic way that Alex Lifeson does things that makes him so unique and so vastly underrated as a guitarist. It's a great song, and it sets the premise for the rest of the album. Caravan and BU2B start with the heaviness, and then this one sets the rest of the melodic premise for the album, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and this album brought back the 2112 Rush fans. I heard a lot of people said, oh my god, they made an album compared to 2112. Oh, I love this shit. And I go, where were you during the rest of the time, man? This album fucking kicks ass. All their albums kicked ass, to me at least. So what'd you think about this, Lee?
Well, the beginning of this sounds like the last part of Led Zeppelin's How Many More Times. But then when the song itself starts regular, it sounded to me like, at first, like Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians, and then it changed to like Pearl Jam. But then later it changed again, like it was the Dream Academy mixed in a blender with the Stranglers. It kept going all over the place, and I usually like songs that do that, but this time it sounded too busy and didn't quite work for me.
Yeah, this is, I said that the musicianship on this song is just killing it. It's like the solo with the bass pounding that Alex does, and it goes into a killer break after the solo with Geddy's vocal effect. It's so cool. I love this song.
Yeah,
and I think in concert, didn't he use a megaphone on this?
I don't remember. I mean, he didn't bring one out. It might have been an effect on his voice. I didn't see him holding one because he was playing bass.
I thought I remember him holding a megaphone with one arm.
I honestly don't remember. I'd have to look at the video.
Yeah, I do too. It just
there's
sounds
a lot
like
to look at in a Rush show when you're at the show. So it's
yeah, you're trying to look at it. There's so much going on, even the washer and dryer in the background sometimes.
Yes.
Or the
I actually own a shirt from the washer. Actually, I'm sorry, I own a shirt from when they was doing the chicken thing. That's what I own a shirt.
That was awesome when they had a freaking chef come out there and baste it.
Yeah, I think that was the R30 tour.
Yeah, that was freaking awesome. I love that. And this is a great song. And then we get into The Anarchist. What'd you think about this one, Chris?
Dude, this song is awesome. So Lee had said earlier that I think it was Caravan. Sounds like it could have been on Grace Under Pressure. This song has a very reminiscent Signals era riff with the like that is almost signature Alex Lifeson from the 80s. And it really hit me in the face. Like when I heard it, I was like, oh my god! I'm like, that is such a like a signature Rush sound and riff, but one we hadn't heard in a very long time.
Yeah, so what'd you think about it, Lee?
Well, an element of it at first made me think, were they listening to Iggy Pop solo albums before doing this song? It has a kind of a cool YYZ element to it I like. And overall, I think it's a good song, but it's more of a grower. Something to hear more than once before it really sinks in. But I do like it.
Yeah, I just remember first listening to this album, and I go, fuck, Snakes and Arrows are better. And then after I kept listening to it, oh, God, this album kicks Snakes and Arrows' ass.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, they opened with this song on the last tour.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm sad I missed it at the Forum. I didn't have money to go, and I was like, but I saw this tour, the Clockwork Angels.
Yeah, there's a great drum riff at the beginning that it's like a nice nice tribal beat, and then yeah, I mean it's a great song. Here's the deal, like I'm not gonna say this is a great song anymore because this is a perfect album. Like there is no bad songs on this album. There's not one single bad moment on this album in my opinion. So they're all great for different reasons. This one to me harkens back to Signals, like I said, and that's I think this album was meant to be its own new thing, but it was also meant to be I think this is the perfect culmination of all of everything they've ever done, which is hard to do because they've been around for 40 years. That's hard to do.
Yeah, it's like that's probably why I like this album so much because, spoiler alert, this is my favorite Rush album. But every time a new Rush album comes out, it becomes my favorite for a while. But this one has stayed my favorite. Usually I go back to Signals. Like you said, it has a lot of Signals on it. And Signals is my favorite album, but this one took its place. And I've lived this album, 7 years now? Almost? 2012, 19.
Has it been that long already? Jesus.
Yeah, it's been 2012 when this came out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's
isn't
crazy.
it?
I hate that.
Yeah, I think the longest time they went between albums was about 7 years, right? With the
Test for Echo and Vapor Trails was the longest. So Test for Echo 94. Yeah, it's 6 years, I think. 7 years.
Yeah, so this is like they went one past that, so we know. Oh God, they ain't coming back. Fuckers.
No, they're not coming back.
Yeah, I know.
I've made my peace with it. I've made my peace with it.
I haven't.
Don't try and talk me out of it, Mark. Don't try and talk me out of it.
Oh, I hope Geddy and Alex do something together and just call it another band, because I want to hear those two. Because I do love Geddy's solo album he did.
I was gonna bring that up, and that's something that we should go through one of these days because it's funny to me that like my favorite Headache by Geddy Lee. That album to me sounds like it could be a Rush album between Test for Echo and Vapor Trails, and I always say that like it could have sounded like half those songs sound like they could have been on Test for Echo, and the other half sound like they could have been on Vapor Trails. So, I mean, lyrically, obviously they're different because it doesn't have the Neil Peart sound, and obviously the guitars don't sound right because it's not Alex Lifeson. But the song structure and the way that he sings them and everything, it sounds like it could be Rush. It's really remarkable.
Well, I love the song "Still" off that album. Fucking kicks ass.
Yeah. Plus,
Working for Perfect is my favorite
album too.
My favorite favorite Headache. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead, Lee.
Go, Lee.
Yeah. Okay, bye. No, just kidding. It's like, of course, Neil Peart could do novels or poetry. I'd read them. Maybe you wouldn't, Mark, because you don't read anything. But I
He's got great books. All of his books are great. I'm sure he's writing. I have no doubt that he's doing something.
I heard something they were going to do. He was going to do a 2112 novel with the same guy who did the Clockwork Angels with.
Oh, you mean the Fountainhead? He's going to do. Oh no, Atlas Shrugged. That's what it was. It wasn't Fountainhead. It was.
That was already a book. I forgot about that.
Yeah. He based it on something like that anyway. But Ayn Rand.
Well, I didn't get into the song yet. I said it comes in with Neil and Alex. And then Geddy's bass joins in. I love the tribal sounding drums, and Geddy's bass is killing it. More like a lead bass on this one. Lots of vocal effects. Love it. Love these lyrics. And then I wrote some of the lyrics down that I love. I love his lyrics, Neil's lyrics, where he goes, "The lenses inside of me that paint the world black. The pools of poison, the scarlet mist that spill over into rage. The things I've always been denied. An early promise that somehow died. A missing part of me that grows around me like a cage, a missing part of me that grows around me like a cage." And then a solo break, and then Alex kicks ass. that freaking lyrics, those lyrics hit me hard. It's like when you close yourself off, stuff grows around you. You know, you put yourself in a cage. This is what I'm getting out of these lyrics. It's like fucking deep, and everybody makes fun of Neil's lyrics. A lot people don't really know him. Make fun of him, man. And
those people are idiots.
Yeah, because I've seen
his lyrics are tremendous.
Who has the worst lyrics, Neil Peart or this other guy? And they all voted for Neil. And I go,
That's
really?
ridiculous.
I know.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He's revered as one of the greatest lyricists of all time. That's not even. It can't be argued. So I refuse to take that as an actual thing.
It's like you can't fight. You can't fight with Rush haters, and you can't fight with Kiss apologists.
Oh my god. Yeah. Point me in the direction of a Kiss apologist real quick, and I'll deal with them.
Go to Kiss Heavy Metal
Those fucking people. Listen, I'm not to get off the subject, but like I'm a Kiss fan from '73 to 2000, and to me, I went to the farewell tour in 2000, and as far as I'm concerned, they've been gone since then because they've been a perpetual embarrassment since, and this lip syncing crap and this feud with Ace, and they're fucking disgusting. They're destroying their legacy right now, and this is.
Oops.
I'm done now.
Okay.
Right on.
Yeah, it's like
we can do Kiss another day.
Well, the guy who runs that page hates the scab Kiss, so you can't say nothing about it. But there's people on there. There's people on there, and then Ralph Vieira has an Almost Human page, and on YouTube, and Kiss come up. Oh, you can't. We like all eras of Kiss. You can't just be a fan of one era of Kiss. You need to like them all. You need to defend
yourself.
I know. It's like
don't tell me what to do.
They call them sheeple.
Yeah. Don't tell me what to do.
I said, so you're okay paying $200 for an American Bandstand concert? Okay, I got it. All right, then we get into the next track, Carnies, which Lee picked. So here's Carnies on the Freeform Rock Podcast. Okay, that was Carney's. Why'd you pick that track, Lee?
Well, this sounds like old Rush, like Working Man. I really like this.
Yes.
But then it has a Ned's Atomic Dustbin element to it that works. In this case, I like the way the song changes. It's really a good song.
So what'd you think about it, Chris?
You can tell from the very beginning, the guitar, like the opening riff to this song was, it's so reminiscent of the 70s era Rush, and it's wonderfully produced. It's got this great like reverb, and it's just loud, and it's, and then Lee's right. The changes in the song, the heaviness at the end. I remember live, this song was so awe-inspiring live because the stage, everything blew up. Everything blew up at the end of the song. It was fucking crazy. And I remember seeing this going, holy shit. And then just when I thought it was over, it wasn't. It just kept going. And like the stage show was insane. And the song kind of, it reflected the song. Because the song's the same way. Just when you think the bombast is over, it just keeps going. It's great, great song.
Yeah, I just said, song is so powerful, lyrics are on point, they are playing their asses off, and drums go off on this song. Freaking love this track. And then we get into the next track, Halo Effect. What'd you think about this one, Chris?
It's a beautiful song. You want to talk about lyrics, the whole, what did I do, fool that I was, like the whole thing, like it's it's another one of those, I think it's the first moment on this album of poignancy that you get an idea, and I know it's telling a story, but I just feel that this story was leading to an end, and he was telling his last story. That's kind of what it sounds like to me, and it's just a beautiful song, great melody. Geddy sings well on this one. Nothing too flashy about this song, but it's just wonderfully presented.
So what'd you think about it, Lee?
If I want to hear a song like this, I'll listen to Counting Crows.
Oh, God.
I'm not a fan of this type of acoustic ballad, and it's a song I'll definitely skip.
This is what I said. I love the sweetness and regrets in this song. Acoustics are so good. Such an emotional song, and I love it.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
Completely.
And then we get into the next track, 7 CDs of Gold. What do you think about this one, Chris?
See, this one was interesting because this song prevented me from making it a perfect album for a long time. And it took me like several listens. And I'm just weird about certain things. The bass sound on this song, I love the opening riff. The opening bass riff on this song is great. I love it. And I love the verses a lot. And Geddy sings his ass off on the verses of this song. What I didn't like about this song was the basicness of the choruses, but then the more I listened to it, the more I realized I was wrong, and I love it. Now it's one of my favorite songs on the album now, and which is strange because normally I don't change my mind like that. After 3 listens, I usually go, that song I can pass on it. I was always lukewarm on it, and now I just love it. So it's a great song. Not the best on the album, but it turned out to be one of my favorites.
What did you think about it, Lee?
This is really cool and heavy and a little bit different than what I usually hear from them. All I can think of to say is that if they did this stuff like this on Hold Your Fire, that album would have been improved quite a bit.
I love that
Hold
album.
Your Fire.
Oh my God, I just changed my mind about Halo Effect. I love it now. Oh my God, I changed my mind again. I hate Halo Effect.
I mean, you can't avoid embarrassments like Taishan off of Hold Your Fire, but besides that, the rest of that album kills, man. But
actually,
anyway.
that's probably one that I think at least they did a mistake on purpose. So
I don't know. I mean, even Geddy Lee was like, I don't know what we were thinking with that one.
Yeah, it's like I was talking.
I'll still listen to it, but every time I hear it, I think, why am I hearing it?
Yeah,
it's like I was talking about this the other day with somebody on Facebook. Somebody put up, the Police have never made a bad album. I said, so is Rush. And then some guy said, well, they've said they've made some done bad things. I go, yeah. I said, but albums as a whole, they're great, but you could take one or two, they make one bad song on one album, doesn't make the album bad. And I brought up Taishan. I go, Taishan doesn't make that album bad because then you got Force 10, Time Stands Still, and you got lots of great songs on there.
I was talking about the whole album. I wasn't just talking about that song.
I like the whole album.
That's the song that I kind of like. I kind of like Taishan only because it seemed like they were purposefully doing some odd, whereas the other ones they tried to do good. And
when China sang to me. China sang to me.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. But all I'm trying to say is, I'll still listen to the album, but it's one where I still wonder if I will like it better.
And that was my first Rush concert on that album, so.
Well, Hold Your Fire is just tragically 80s. That's really the biggest problem with it. The production of it is tragically 80s. If like, you know, I can pick out anything at any time. I've actually heard this recently with like every time a band like Anthrax does a cover of a song from the 80s or something, I go, God damn, that song's heavy. And the reason is because the production in the 80s was so like trebly and so weak and so like had no guts. Like a lot of things from the 80s had no guts in terms of production.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Except for Force 10. Force 10 came out hard.
but still, how much heavier would that sound now?
Oh, yeah. They played heavier
even with
now.
The keyboards.
Even with
the keyboards.
Yeah. I think they would cut out the keyboards now if they did that song.
Well, I don't know about that. The keyboards are a big part of that song. But regardless of that, I mean, you know, it's a sign of the times. It's always the way it's been. It's just a sign of the times, you know?
Yeah. Well, this is what I think about the song we're talking about, 7 Cities of Gold. Starts off with Geddy's awesome bass and slowly builds up and starts rocking. And like you said, Geddy's singing his ass off on this track. And it has a killer break. And this song is not my favorite off the album, but it's still a good song. So I kind of agreed with you on that one. And then we get into the next song, The Wreckers. What did you think about this one, Chris?
Dude, this song, the only reason I didn't pick this song as well is because I had to pick my second song because it's probably my all-time favorite Rush song, the second one I picked on this album. If you would have given me more than two to pick, I would have picked this one as well. This song is a tearjerker if there's ever been one, especially if you see it live with the orchestra and the whole thing. It's one of the best melodies they've ever written on anything. I love this song, like with everything everything they've ever done. Like this song is just, the lyrics are great. Again, I know Lee's gonna hate it because it is just straight, like it's kind of a ballady song. So I have a strong feeling of what Lee's opinion is gonna be.
You never know; he could surprise you.
Yeah, he can. He's probably changing it right now as we speak. But anyway, again, and then lyrically, it's the same thing. This song is very reminiscent of another one of my all-time favorite Rush songs, Nobody's Hero from Counterparts. It's got the same kind of feel, and lyrically, it's got the same kind of feel.
Welcome to Best Buy. I'm looking for a new
It's one of my
laptop.
favorites. The Records is one of my favorites ever.
Yeah, you brought up Nobody's Hero. That's one of my worst favorite songs, but I don't skip it.
Wow, that's surprising. I love that song.
Yeah, I think it slows. The lyrics. I think it should have been on a different album because it slowed down the album for me.
The lyrics on that song are possibly the best that Neil's ever written.
Yeah, they're good lyrics, but I'm saying it distracted from the rest of the album for me. I think that's probably why.
I think it gives it a little bit of evenness. But anyway, we can do Counterparts another day.
Yeah, so what did you think about this song, Lee?
I almost thought I was listening to a Sun 60 song when this came up. Not a good Sun 60 song, though. I don't like this. But I'd be interested...
No shock.
You called it.
Yeah, to see if Ryan Adams could do something interesting with this.
Ryan Adams can't do anything anymore.
Yeah, he's too busy with sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about.
He's too busy touching people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Ryan, the young guy, Ryan.
Yeah, we know who you're talking about.
That's who we're talking about.
But
not Brian. Brian still rules to me. All right.
How dare you sully the name of Brian Adams?
I know.
Okay, but anyway, he'd be the only guy who could do justice to it. Sorry, Rush. Next song.
Well, this is what I love. This song. The lyrics are so good. I love when he goes, all I know is that sometimes you have to be wary of a miracle too good to be true. All I know is that sometimes the truth is contrary. Everything in life you thought you knew. All I know is that sometimes you have to be wary because sometimes the target is you. And this song just hits me right in the heart because it feels like he's talking about me. You know, I'm always wary about people around me, about is this thing going to work out? What's going to happen? You know, and then all of a sudden you feel like people are on you. It's like, what happened?
And I don't know if you ever saw the video for it with the animation for it. It's fantastic. It's just a great presentation as a whole.
It's a great song. And now we get to the track number 9, which is tied for my favorite off this album. And so I'm going to pick a track because you guys didn't pick this track. So I'm going to pick Headlong Flight. So here's Headlong
this
Flight.
Fucking song. This song is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, dude.
This is Headlong Flight on the Freeform Rock Podcast. And go ahead, Chris.
No, this song's a beast. That's all I have to say about it. That's
why I picked it.
Another one I would pick if I had a choice.
Well, I picked it. So here we go.
Here's you go.
Headlong Flight. Okay, that was Headlong Flight. Why'd you like? You would have picked this song, Chris. So why do you like it?
It's everything that's great about Rush, like in one package, and it really made for a good live presentation because Neil did like 2 drum solos like in the middle of the song.
Oh God!
And he extended them, and it was just Alex Lifeson goes off on this song. If you want to pick a song that's reminiscent of Working Man in the way that it's presented, this is the song. Like, it's got all the solos, it's got all, every guy had a chance to kind of show off in this song. And again, a lot like Caravan, it really feels like a headlong flight. Like, that's what the song feels like. Like, you're listening to this song and you're like, holy crap, I'm just flying. Like, I'm just totally speeding through the air. The song is so good. Like, it's such a... It's almost the perfect Rush song. Like, it's almost the perfect Rush song.
Yeah, every time this song comes on in my car, I gotta roll down the windows, I gotta turn it up to 50, I gotta freaking jam it like 3 or 4 times before I'm okay moving on to the next track. Because this song just rules. What do you think about it, Lee?
I'll tell you exactly what I wrote, and I won't change it. This sounds like Rush collaborated with Sons of Apollo on this. I mean that in a good way. This kicks ass. This would have been my 3rd pick if I had one. Yeah, great.
Yeah, this is tied for my favorite off the album. The song is a musical masterpiece. It rocks so fucking hard. They jam and show off on this song. The drums give me a hard on. Sorry, I had to say that. The break is
don't
so...
pull no Ryan Adams shit
on
this show, all right? Come on.
I don't follow that of his career. I just follow the music.
The break is amazing. Oh my God, so good. And they just jam and rock out with Neil hammering the drums. Geddy's bass. Freaking amazing lead from Alex. This makes me want to cry that we might never hear this amazing band again because this song just kicks so much ass.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Completely.
And then we get into, like, I think it's a little filler here, but it goes along with the story, I guess. BU to B2. What do you think about this one?
It's kind of a reprise. It's nothing special. I mean, it's nothing really to talk about beyond, it's cool that, Rush has never really done that before. I mean, I guess if you want to take, like, the Discovery section of 2112, when he's tuning his guitar and all that stuff, like that kind of thing. If you want to compare it to that, then that's fine. That works for me. It's that kind of thing. It's a story driver. It's nothing more or less.
What'd you think about it, Lee?
It's short and symphonic, but I dig it. I think it's a good song.
Yeah, I just said like a small recap of the story so far in steampunk world, because this album's about a steampunk world. If people don't know what steampunk is,
yeah, that's the backdrop. Yeah.
Yeah. It ties in the story of the concept of this album together. That's what I feel about it. It's pretty cool. I like it. I think but I guess they had to move it down, but I don't know. And then we get into track 11, Wish Them Well. What'd you think about this one, Chris?
This song's awesome. I mean, there's really nothing else to say about it. The thing that drives this song, if I'm going to get real technical about it, that I love, the reason why I love it so much would be it's just the chord progressions. The song sounds pretty straightforward and simple, and this is what makes Rush so great, is that when they're not being complex, they're still being complex. There's nothing simple about this song. I mean, to write it, to play it maybe if you learn it, but the chord progression is not normal. It's not a normal thing, and the way that they flow from their from the kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like a, from a minor sounding or a jazzy sounding chord progression to this upbeat, thank you, God, unite that away. Like that whole, that chorus section that gets so bright and upbeat all of a sudden. It's really different. It's just different for them, and it's not. It's what Rush does so well. It makes everything accessible to people, even when they're not being simple.
What'd you think about it, Lee?
Now we're getting into Katrina and the Waves territory.
Oh, wow.
It's interesting and intriguing to see them do something that edges so much into 80s pop, but it does work. I like some other songs better, but I would listen to this again. I wouldn't skip it.
Yeah, it's a great song, but somehow it's way different than the rest of the album, but it freaking kicks ass. I love it. It's like, I don't know, it just sounds like they put it on here to add to the story, but the changes and the rhythm is different than what they were playing on the rest of the album to me. But I freaking love it still. And then we get into the last track off the album, The Garden, which you picked, Chris. And
Mark, your whole entire way that you just said that kind of summed this whole thing up.
Yeah, I don't want it to end.
And then your heart sinks.
Yeah.
And honest to God, like, I have never, ever in my entire life... So, yes, I did pick this song. I cut you off before you finished saying that. And I did pick this song because this song is... It is the love letter. It is the goodbye letter. It is everything. And if you listen to it now, you definitely know. Like, hindsight is 20/20, and that's for sure. But I can honestly tell you, and, you know, my soon-to-be 18-year-old son, who was 13 at the time, or 14, no, 12. Actually, he was 12 years old at the time. And I remember talking to him about this, and he will vouch for me when I said, uh-oh.
Yeah.
After I heard that song, I went, oh, no. Because we were all kind of waiting for it to happen. I mean, you know, Neil had just had a baby. He had gotten his life back together. You just knew that it was going to happen eventually. I mean, there's no way that he was going to be able to keep playing the way he was playing deep into his 60s. Like, that's not a thing. He's not Reggie Watts. He's not, you know, he's playing different things. So this song is so poignant, so beautifully written. Every single human being on the face of the earth can get something from this song, both lyrically and musically. And honestly, it's something we all should listen to, and it's something we all should follow. But more than that, for Rush fans, it's like family member going away forever, and it's like getting that note saying that, hey, you know, you'll have all these memories and you'll have all these things to, you know, to listen to remind us of who we were, to remind you of who we were, but, you know, this is the last song you're going to hear from us. And it's played out that way, and what a bet, there's no better way for them to go.
Yeah, it's like Neil has said. He said, well, people say Charlie Watts still plays. He goes, yeah, but Charlie Watts doesn't play like me. And I said, right. Yeah, if I play like Charlie Watts, I could play into my 90s. He said, but I'm not Charlie Watts. I can't play I can't play with the ferocity that I play with as Neil Peart. I can't play like Charlie Watts. I'm not him.
Yeah, I said Reggie Watts. Sorry.
Yeah,
Charlie
Watts. Yeah, Charlie Watts.
I said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I said the wrong thing.
All right, so let's get into this track. This is The Garden by Rush on Freeform Rock Podcast.
In this one of many possible worlds, all for the best or some bizarre test. It is what it is, and whatever. Time is still the infinite jest. The arrow flies when you dream. The hours tick away, the cells tick away. The watchmaker keeps to his schemes. The hours tick away, they tick away. The measure of a life is a measure of love and respect. So hard to earn, so easily burned. The measure of a life is a measure of love and respect. So hard to earn, so easily burned. In the fullness of time, a garden to nurture and protect. sun till the stars go spinning, spinning round the night. Oh, it is what it is, and forever. Each moment a memory of light. The air of light while you breathe. The hours tick away, the cells tick away. The watchmaker has time up his sleeve. The hours tick away, they tick away. The measure of a life is a measure of love and despair. So hard to earn, so easily burned. Let the fullness of time a garden to nurture and protect. The treasure of a life is a measure of love and despair. The way you live, the gifts that you give, and the fullness of time is the only return that you expect. The future disappears into memory, with only a moment between. Forever dwells in that moment. Hope is what remains to be seen. Forever dwells in that moment. Hope is what remains to be seen.
Okay, Chris, why'd you pick that track?
I just told you.
I know.
I'm too busy crying right now. I can't talk about it. No. Again, like, to me, it's arguably the best Rush song ever written, in my opinion, in terms of everything that you've ever, not that everything you'd ever want to hear from Rush, because it's got no like real heaviness to it in terms of music, but in terms of, sending a message, it's remarkable. It's just a remarkable track. So I can't add any more than what I already said. So
what do you think about it, Lee?
This sounds like Paula Cole, but I'm imagining she could do it better. They could have extended BU2B2 by 5 minutes instead of putting this on here, and that would have been better.
Oh,
Jesus.
Oh. Well, I'm gonna have to stomp you out on that one, because this is what I think about it. It's like Chris is saying, excuse me why I cry, what could be the final song of Rush's career. They end it with one of the most beautiful songs, the lyrics so powerful, and here's some of the lyrics. The measure of a life is a measure of love and respect, so hard to earn, so easily burned in fullness of time, a garden to nurture and protect in the rise and set of the sun. Till the stars go spinning, spinning round the night, it is what it is, and forever each moment and memory in flight they have ever recorded. This is tied for my favorite on the album. This song, the story on this album is so awesome, and Rush to end it with a concept album is so awesome. But to me, it has to be their best work ever. Shows off their amazing skills. I will miss them. They will always be my band. The band has spoke to me from the moment I first heard them and has helped me through moments in my life. Thank you, Geddy, Alex, and Neil. I love you guys, and your music has meant a lot to me. Enjoy your retirement, Neil. You deserve it, the professor.
Yeah, and again, like, I can't help but, as much as it pains me to accept it, and, they've done the same thing of accepting it, because, again, I've heard Geddy going through making the rounds lately, and, he's not happy. Like, you can tell that him and Alex aren't happy with, because they can play forever. But what I respect the most about Rush, beyond their musicianship and beyond the fact that, in my opinion, and I know coming from a lifelong Rush fan, this is no surprise, they're the most complete band I think I've ever seen out there, and they always did it their own way. They always, they never bowed to any of the pressure from anybody, including their fans. And it wasn't for a lack of love for their fans. It was just that they didn't, they knew what they wanted to do. And then if they weren't going to do what they wanted to do, then they weren't going to do it anymore. And it's at a point now where, you feel bad because, like, with all these other musicians that are suffering, Huey Lewis is going through hearing loss. Eric Clapton has got arthritis. Man. You got these guys who are suffering, who can't do the thing that they love. And, Neil Peart had the luxury of not only having the career that afforded him the opportunity to walk away with riches beyond his wildest dreams and be able to just live the life he wants to live, but the fans are not angry. Like, we're not angry. We're sad, because we know that he just can't do it anymore. So I respect them. And Geddy said it himself. He's like, we were never going to do the farewell tour anyway. Like, we were never going to do that cash grab that all these other bands do. And I respect them for that, especially after seeing what's going on with the aforementioned Kiss that we were just mentioning before, and their cash grab, and Ozzy doing his, fifth farewell tour at this point?
Well, then he said it's not really a farewell tour, so Ozzy...
But I mean, Slayer is now doing, their third leg of their farewell tour. I mean, give it a rest already. Like, it's a cash grab. We get it. And you're probably going to come back eventually anyway, where we know Rush isn't coming back. Like, yeah. I know they're not coming back. So, farewell to Rush. I feel the same way. But I'm glad that we got their best effort. Like, this was definitely their best effort.
Yeah, and like when I was reading that, I started tearing up. When I wrote it, I was tearing up. And then when I read it again to my fiance, I was tearing up. I said, this band has just meant a lot to me during my life, especially the song Subdivisions, That was me in school. I was never cool. I was always the cast out,
Yeah.
And that song always spoke to me. All their music has spoke to me. I got into their music from Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows and then went back and started enjoying everything. It took me for the longest time to even get the first Rush album because Neil Peart wasn't on it, but I still listen to it and I love it. It's not my favorite because
great.
Neil's not on there, but I still love the first Rush album.
Yeah, Rutsy wasn't a bad drummer.
No, he wasn't, but he's not.
No, he did a good job.
He's not the lyrics. The lyrics of Neil is what makes Rush for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can hear the very distinct difference. I mean, they were a Led Zeppelin disciple band on the first album. Like, you can hear that. Gene Simmons is the one that said it best. It's like, what is this, Canadian Zeppelin?
Yeah.
So I mean, he's the one. He's the one I first heard say that because they toured with Kiss a ton in the early days, and there was a documentary, and Gene's like, what is this, like Canadian Zeppelin?
Yeah.
Because that's what they sounded like.
Yep, I have that documentary. I love it. Forgot the name of it. Dang it. Was
it The Time Stand Still? Or?
No, the other one.
Beyond the Lighted Stage.
Yeah, Beyond the Lighted Stage. That's so good.
Again, one of the best documentaries I've ever seen made on a band. I mean, I've seen a bunch of good ones, but it's a very good one. It's very well done, and it's fleshed out nicely, and they didn't really pull any punches. I mean, there's not a lot of negativity in the Rush career, so, not a lot of things that they did that were, that was questionable in terms of, behavior or diva shit or anything like that. But,
or even wasted. Geddy said they said you could have anything you want, so he said, give me some whiskey. So he went on stage after he drank some whiskey, and he said that was the first and last time I ever did that.
Yeah. Well, you can't be wasted and play Rush music.
Yeah.
I mean, that's too hard to do.
Yeah.
You like.
But I respect them for doing that.
Well, yeah, they're working too hard. You can't just, you can't do it. You're working too hard. I can't see like the guys in Dream Theater going on stage like sloshed. Like, I just can't see it. Like, it's too much to play. It's just
Van Halen, yes, but not.
Yeah.
Even Eddie, when he's drunk, can still do a good solo because he's just riffing, But
well, yeah. I mean, if you're a legendary guitarist, you could stay in key and just do your thing. But when you're doing stuff where everybody has to be on the same page, playing 11/8 or 15/8 or something like that, and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Have you ever looked at anything by Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show?
Yes, actually.
Yeah. So Rush is like the complete opposite of that kind of band. But that was the kind of band that I dug when I was growing up. I laughed. I thought they were great.
Yeah, and this album actually was, I think it's the highest charted album in America. It charted at number 2. Canadian, of course, number 1. And they also won Best Rock Album on the Juno Awards up there. So this is a great album. Finish, it was number 4, UK 21. I don't know what's wrong with England.
They usually love Rush.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And they were kind of sad because they were trying to get more dates out of Neil, and he just wouldn't go for it on the last concerts. And they wanted to go to Europe. They wanted to say bye to Europe, and Neil just wouldn't have it. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was until the recent interviews with Geddy. I was actually kind of holding out hope that at some point down the line, 5 years or something, like, Shake It Off and whatever, they would do like a run of shows in Toronto or do some sort of residency somewhere like in Vegas or something, like for a week or something, and I would travel. Like, I'd be in Toronto the next day. Like, that's all I'd need to hear is that there's a show. Rush is going to play another show in Toronto. When and where, and I'll be there. I don't care if it's $1,000. I will be there. But after hearing that, I can't see how a dude who's in his mid to late 60s now, who is not playing at all, is all of a sudden going to get himself in game shape for a few shows just to appease fans or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't even think he would be capable. Like, I don't know if that's a thing. Like, I don't know. I'm not a drummer. Like, I'm a drummer, but I'm not Neil Peart. You know what I mean? I haven't been doing it for 40 years. I don't know if he's capable. Like, I don't even know if his human body can handle it. It sounds ridiculous, but it's true. I mean, the stuff he plays is really, it's really insane. It's a physical demand.
Here's what it says. It says, had the release been eligible for UK albums chart, the album would have debuted at number 1. So I guess they didn't make it eligible, so it went to number 21. But Martin Popoff, the book I have here, he said He gave this album a perfect 10 out of 10 and said of it, "No one can't deny there's more purpose and focus here than any Rush album ever."
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
I agree.
So
I totally agree.
I don't want to stop talking about this album, but we're going to have to for time constraints because I just love Rush and I could talk about Rush for hours.
Yeah.
Why don't we just listen to 2UB2 again?
B2UB.
Yeah, B2UB2.
Or just keep playing Headlong Flight on and The Garden on
repeat.
Headlong Flight.
Yeah,
on
I know
repeat.
The Garden. Yeah, so let's get in. That was our review on Rush Clockwork Angels. More like well, for me and Chris, more like a love letter for Lee. Okay, here and there. So and,
more like a love letter, but maybe a couple of paragraphs I might need to edit. But overall, pretty good.
Yeah, it sounds like Lee liked more than he didn't.
Yeah,
so.
I know.
Yeah,
but we're like gushing over it. He's like he gushes and then he doesn't. So the front cover was designed by.
I go to the bathroom and then I don't.
We can't leave this. The front cover was designed by Hugh Syme, who longtime album covers for them. Depicts a clock marked with arithmetical symbols instead of numbers. It displays the time as 9:12, which in a 24 time is 21:12. The reference to the band's fourth studio album. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That's news to me.
9:12, which is 24-hour time, is 21:12.
Oh yeah, duh. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know it now.
Yeah, it's awesome. So let's get let's get into our tracks of the week. You picked Devin Townsend. I've heard of this guy, but I've never took the time to listen to him. I heard this track, and it's really freaky and cool.
Yeah, it's so Devin Townsend. Just to give a little history on Devin Townsend, he's possibly one of the greatest singers out there right now, especially in metal. He's a virtuoso guitarist as well, and he's a crazy, insane composer at the same time. He started with Steve Vai. He was on Steve Vai's Sex and Religion album back in like the mid-'90s. As a vocalist, as a singer. It's like the only albums.
I didn't like that album.
That's such a good album.
Oh, because I wasn't expecting vocals, so I didn't like it. I was expecting
it's so good, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good album. But and that kind of launched his career from there. That album, the band on that album is ridiculous because he had Terry Bozzio on drums too. That's a fucking sick album, dude. Yeah, it's a sick album. But anyway, and then he went from there and did his solo thing. He also had a thrash prog metal band called Strapping Young Lad, which is also his band. And he's been perpetually underground but popular. So he's like at the if there's a hierarchy of underground metal bands or underground metal artists, especially in prog metal, he's at the top of the underground. Let's put it that way. He's highly respected. He's highly regarded as basically the metal Zappa is what he kind of is. He's kind of he's kind of a band leader. He's always got different people. This newest album that he's coming out with is kind of, I think it's going to be his love letter because he's been he put himself in the restraints of being in a band by his own forming called the Devin Townsend Project, which started out as an experiment he was doing to explore different types of musical styles. So he did like a 4-album run of 4 completely different styles, and then it turned into a band. And then it got stale by his own admission. He's like, this is getting stale. I need to do something different. So his answer to that was this album, Empath, that's coming out in March. And the first release, the song Genesis, is fucking chaos. That's all. That's the only thing I could possibly come up with is that it's chaos, but it's beautifully chaotic is what it is. So, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it, but he's not really singing that much on this song. It's like more like orchestral. To me.
There's a bunch of different things going on here, and he even admits it's funny because he's doing a podcast, but it's basically him over the phone explaining the album. It's very interesting. So he's done 4 weeks worth now. If you look it up, I think it's on YouTube and stuff. But he explained that choosing a song, like releasing a song to represent the album, is always a difficult thing, and on this album, it's really, really difficult because there's like 9 different styles on this album, and this song was the only one that he could pick that kind of had its hand in all of it. So that's why he went with this one. So it's it's the first song, and I love it. I think it's great, and it's, like I said, beautifully chaotic, wonderful music. And if you're into weird shit, which Lee sounds like you are, I would definitely check it out.
I'm very intrigued. I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah, it's a really weird song, but I was liking it. So it's long too, pretty long.
Yeah, it's like 8 minutes, I think, to start.
It's really cool. So after this tearjerker of the Rush album, I had to pick something really, really light. So I picked Warrant, Ridin High, a deep track off the first album, which
Ridin High,
Ridin Free. I love this song, man. It came on my phone yesterday. I go, I'm listening to this.
Live it up before they bury me.
I love this track. Song. And then Lee picked Orange Wedge, Love Me. So here's tracks of the week: Devin Townsend, Genesis, Warrant, Ridin High, and Orange Wedge, Love Me on the Freeform Rock Podcast. And guess you're going to be here next week with the new Dream Theater. We're going to review that one. So talk to you next week, Chris, and see you next week, Lee.
All right, it's been a pleasure.
All right,
and wait, hold on.
I'm holding.
Before you go, I did a whole review of the Dream Theater album as well on my shows. So if anybody wants to check that out, I can tell you the name of the show.
Oh yeah, go ahead and pimp your stuff real quick.
Actually, you know what? I'll save it for next week because I don't want to take away from what we're going to do here. So I don't want anybody to hear my review beforehand. But what I will say is the show is Progtology 101. I'm on every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ISKC Rock Radio or iskc.rocks. So just check it out.
All right. So here's our tracks of the week: Devin Townsend, Genesis, Warrant, Ridin High, and Orange Wedge, Love Me. Until next week, say goodbye, Lee.
Okay. Bye, y'all.
Bye, Chris.
See you later, man.
Bye.
You don't know what you're looking for. Please do you looking with me? I've got a long time to go on, but I don't know what I'll find. I wish I'd answer my own questions, and I wouldn't need much time. And I could tell you how to love me, and I'd never make you sad. We'd get the kind of loving you said we never had. don't know what we'll find. Let's try to answer our own questions and we won't need no time. I could tell you how to love me and I'd never make you sad. We'd get the kind of loving she said we never had.
Now let's get into the promos.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
I wanna rock.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
You gotta fight for your right.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
We've got Bush.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
That's right, bangers. Cold beer, hot women, loud music, and copious amounts of hairspray and spandex. Every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, the Big Bushy Power Hour is the biggest party on that metalstation.com.
Hello, folks. This is the rock sponge Terrence Reardon of the Terrence Reardon and Friends podcast. Join yours truly every week as I look at a different classic rock and or metal album that had an impact on my life and or rock music in general, and I'm usually joined by a friend or two. And there's no country or rap or techno bullshit on the show because I hate those fucking music genres. Techno and rap and country sucks. So if you want a kick-ass rock and roll podcast, check out the Terrence Reardon and Friends podcast every week on YouTube and now on Podbean and iTunes. So yes, folks, I'm available in three different ways. Podbean and iTunes for the audio and YouTube for the visual. Thank you very much.
From New York.
Hey, 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 hey! What up, bangers? From North Carolina,
Skitter Pal Meow Meow.
this is Bushy.
And the Mountain. Tune in every week for your listening pleasure only on The Plug with Bushy and the Mountain Man. You can find us on Podbean and iTunes.
Thank you very much.
You haven't listened to Mars Attacks podcast? What are you waiting for, man? Host Victor Ambrose brings you all types of hard rock and metal-based podcasts. You'll find everything from music-based episodes, interviews, to series such as Ultra Sexy Classic Album Series, where some of your favorite musicians, producers, journalists, and show hosts comments on the albums that push the evolutionary chains of hard rock and metal. Get with it and go to MarsAttacksRadio.com to find out more. Punch it, get blasted!
Hello, folks. This is the rock sponge Terrence Reardon of the Terrence Reardon and Friends podcast. Join yours truly every week as I look at a different classic rock and or metal album that had an impact on my life and or rock music in general, and I'm usually joined by a friend or two. And there's no country or rap or techno bullshit on the show because I hate those fucking music genres. Techno and rap and country sucks. So if you want a kick-ass rock and roll podcast, check out the Terrence Reardon and Friends podcast every week on YouTube and now on Podbean and iTunes. So yes, folks, I'm available in three different ways. Podbean and iTunes for the audio and YouTube for the visual. Thank you very much.
Hey, this is Lee Gerstmann, and if you like to hear some stuff that's like, you don't know what it's gonna be, and even if it's stuff that I don't even know what it's gonna be, check me out on what I call the Lee Gerstmann Show. And it's just me doing reviews or me doing horsing around or whatever I'm doing. Check it out, please.
You have just listened to the Freeform Rock Podcast. All music played on the Freeform Rock Podcast belongs to its owner. If you like it, go out and buy it. Get your music on Amazon, iTunes, or at your local record store. Support what you love. Support the artist by seeing them live. Purchase their music. The Freeform Rock Podcast is not affiliated with any of the artists or music that we play. Thank you for listening to the Freeform Rock Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode. Until next time, stay free and rock on.